Hey guys, Happy New Year. This video is for our 2nd through 4th grade team for January week 1. So we have a brand new theme for this month. It's called Work It Out, Stick to the Plan. And our life app is commitment, making a plan and putting it into practice. That's what we're going to be talking about all month long in January. And our memory verse for the month says, training the body has some value, so kids are going to run in place, but being godly has value in every way. They'll point up and then kind of open their arms up to the sides. It promises help for the life you are living now. They're going to cross their hands over the heart and then point down, and the life to come, point up. So that's 1 Timothy 4:8. And this week, our story is a familiar one. It comes from Matthew 7, and it's about the foolish man who built his house on the sand and the wise man who built his house on the rock. And our bottom line is practice hearing and doing what God says. So along with handing out the parent cue and the memory verse card this Sunday, we're also going to start this little commitment challenge for January. So this on the front just has that the kids put a check mark if they've memorized the bottom line for each week. And then also if they did their little devotionals. And the devotionals are all going to be attached to this. There's going to be 4 of them. So this is the kindergarten through 1st grade one, but you guys will have one that's just 2nd through 4th grade. And you kind of go through with your kids. So this is for week 1, then week 2, then week 3, week 4. And if you can bring this back at the end of the month and show us that you've done it all, we'll have a little prize for you for being committed. So this week, obviously, all your kids are going to get one of these. If you're serving again in later weeks, just keep track of which kids have been here this month or ask them if they've been here yet and if they've gotten one of these, and make sure that they get one before the month is over so we can practice commitment. So on to this week's activities. Just as you arrive in your rooms at 8:30 and 10:30, really take that minute to prepare, to pray for the kids in your small group, and just pray that they can grow in their relationship with God through what they hear today. Pray that they'll be able to grasp the concept of hearing from God, and just ask God for the wisdom and knowledge for you as a small group leader to help explain that to your kiddos. So then as kids start to roll in at 8:40 and 10:40, as they join your circle, ask about their week, make sure you know their names, make sure any new students feel welcome and connected. And then you're going to use this little conversation below. You can play a game called If I Built a House. So you could say, if I built a house, I'd build it on, and have kids just fill in the blanks with any crazy thing that they can think of. So if I built my house, I'd build it on spaghetti. And then the next kid is going to give their answer. If I built a house, I'd build it on spaghetti and lava. And then the next kid would go, if I built a house, I'd build it on spaghetti and lava and boogers or spit or whatever. And just have them keep adding on, see if they can remember as it goes on. Then as kids start, when service starts at 9 and 11, you're going to do an interactivity called What Time Is It? So you're going to play a game called What Time Is It, Katie, or whatever your name is. And you're going to have the kids line up shoulder to shoulder at one end of your area. And you're going to stand like 15 feet away. And the game starts when the kids ask, this is kind of like Mother May I, what time is it, Katie? And then you're going to call back a time, like 5 o'clock. And so if I said 5 o'clock, the kids will take 5 steps forward. And then they'll say, what time is it, Katie? And you'll say 2 o'clock. So they take 2 steps forward. And once the kids are within an arm's length of you, you're going to say dinner time. And once you say dinner time, the kids have to run back to the starting line before you tag them. So if a kid gets tagged, then they're the new person who's the caller. So you guys can play this all together. Maybe one group can go into the large group area early and play this. However you would like to do it. 2nd grade, if you want to play it all together. Boys, if you want to go into the large group area, leave it up to you guys to figure out how you want to make that work. So then you'll just close that down by saying, so guys, to follow directions and play this game, you had to hear the number and then move that many steps. That was the doing part. So you had to hear it and you had to do it. And in our Bible story today, we're going to learn why hearing and doing go together. So then at large group, just make sure that you sit with your group. Worship with them, lead them in worship, and help them engage in the story. As you head back to your small groups, your review activity, you're going to need the rocks that are going to be in your cart and some permanent markers. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to give each kid a rock, and you're going to tell the kids to use their markers to write the word hearing on one side of the rock and doing on the other side of the rock. And just make sure that kids are careful to put the caps back on their markers. That way they don't dry out, because permanent markers are expensive, and so they don't get it on their clothes or the carpet or the rugs. And then you're just going to read the following things below. And if the kids think that this is a scenario that shows someone hearing God's word, they're going to hold up the hearing side. And if it's something showing someone doing what God says, they're going to hold up the doing side. So it gives you the little answers in parentheses as you read each one. So then you'll just close down by saying, great job, guys. Today we've been talking about how important it is to practice hearing and doing what God says. And I know that you all want to be wise in the way that you live, and you want to make good choices that help you have the best life and one that honors God. That's why both sides of your rock are so important. You have to hear what God says so that you know how he wants you to live. But once you hear it, you have to do something with it. You have to practice hearing and doing in order to be wise. So remember, as you learn to hear from God by reading the Bible, look for opportunities to do what he says. To be wise, you have to practice hearing and doing. And I want to challenge you guys to carry these rocks with you as a reminder to practice hearing and doing what God says. You can maybe keep them in your pocket or your backpack, or put them on your nightstand in your bedroom, just so you remember what we talked about this week. So then for the memory verse review, all you're going to need is the Bibles on your cart, and you'll have kids pair up with their Bible and just help them find 1 Timothy 4:8. We are really working on getting NIRV Bibles. We bought some for the kindergarten through first grade groups, so you guys are next so that they will actually match your memory verse cards. So then help them read that memory verse, practice it with emotions. You can pass out the memory verse cards then. And then have kids stand and spread out as much as you can in your area. And then tell them that you're going to call out some exercises that they have to complete as they repeat the verse. So you're going to say, all right, do jumping jacks. And while they're doing jumping jacks, you might say the first line of the verse and have them repeat it. All right, now we're going to jog in place and say the second line. Okay, do push-ups, and just kind of keep going. So then you'll close by saying, guys, that was a workout. And just like our verse says, training the body has some value. So that's like when you exercise and you eat healthy. But choosing to follow God and do what he says, that's the being godly part of the verse, that has even more value, because when you practice hearing and doing what God says, you live the best kind of life. And that takes commitment that I know that you guys can do it. So then we started these last month. You have some optional small group questions. So again, you just kind of need to, while you're preparing, think about your group. Maybe the girls, you like to chat more, and so these are some questions that you can sit and ask them. Maybe you skip over doing that exercising part of the memory verse, and you just talk about the verse, and then you go through these questions, whatever fits for your small group. And then you're going to close in prayer. So you're going to make sure that they have their rocks from their earlier activity, and you're just going to encourage them to hold their rocks while you pray for them. And then just kind of close by saying, I want you guys to take these rocks home as a reminder to hear and do what God says. So let's pray that God would help us practice hearing and doing what he says. And then there's just a little prayer that you can follow or say your own. And then as parents come, just encourage kids to show them their rocks and talk about what they mean. And just make sure that they take home a parent cue and a memory verse card and a little commitment packet for this month, okay? Thank you guys so much for serving. I'm so pumped for a new year. I'm so grateful for all of you, and I will see you guys on Sunday.